Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the One and O podcast. I'm Avery Hill.
I'm Will Horseman.
There wasn't a lot going on for Penn State this week, but there was some things that happened over this weekend. We'll start with recruiting, then we'll move into NIL. Will, Penn State had two commits this weekend. What was kind of the biggest one for you?
Yeah, I really like the Tyson Harley commit for them because he's now the second edge rusher in the class and pretty highly rated edge rusher. I mean, him and Jackson Ford are near top 300 recruits on the 24/7 Sports composite. And it's because back in when Daniel Jennings reclassified, Penn State didn't have any edge rushers. Now they're pretty set for the class with both Harley and Ford, and really both of them can be like good players in my opinion. And Harley is a getting a commit from like Gonzaga. I mean, obviously DMV, Penn State's kind of dominated the DMV recruiting for a while now, and at Gonzaga is that's a good high school in the WCAC. I mean, I competed in high school athletics there, so I know how
So did
high.
I. So did I. There we go. There we go. The WCAC pod. There we go. There we
Yes,
go.
yeah, and Harley, he can be. I've done the film review. I think he can be he's very athletic, got some good speed. Has a good bull rush move. I mean, he can definitely be like a problem in the backfield in the future for Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, I think those were a good couple of moves for Penn State. It was a big weekend in terms of recruiting, 4th of July weekend. A lot of teams kind of like to set their recruiting for, or a lot of players like to kind of set their commitment dates for that, July 4th, July 5th, July 3rd, whatever you may have it. But yeah, I think Tyson Harley was a really good ad. I think you're getting a guy that, again, we talk about go to Gonzaga, that obviously is where Olu Fashanu went. If you want to go outside of the Penn State realm, I mean, they brought in talent for years. You can go to Caleb Williams. You can go to, I mean, I'm blanking on him right now, but it was a guy, he played for the Patriots and he did rugby. He was in the NFL. Like they have guys coming out of Gonzaga. I'm not going to sit here and try to remember his name off the top of my head right now, but I think there's a lot of guys, obviously coming out the area, and Penn State's continuing to, have a hold in the area, which is a big thing. I mean, I think priority number one for James Franklin is okay, let me get these Pennsylvania guys. Um, Obviously they didn't, get the ones they wanted, as we kind of talked about last week, but they did get some quality guys, in the in-state realm. But I think if you're looking out of state, the first place that James Franklin is going to go to is the DMV. Obviously, he was at Maryland in 2000. Obviously, a lot of history just in the area in general, and then it's just not that far. About depending where you live, 2.5, 3.5 hours, maybe four. Not far recruiting point for Penn State. Maryland's not a big state, so it's in the whole DMV isn't far off. So it's not. It isn't a hard recruiting area. So I mean, I think for Penn State, it's good to kind of see them continue to be in that battle. Obviously, they also pulled in Marlon Bright, a 3-star. I think we kind of figured he was a guy that kind of was really, like, it was kind of obvious he was going to commit to Penn State. Honestly, a while ago, I think Lau had kind of knew. I think Lau had kind of been ready for that since like the Orange Bowl. Like that was kind of when we figured it was going to come. Another offensive lineman, and bring it to Phil Trot Williams' room. But also Penn State did lose out on a couple guys. Dorian Barney committed to Michigan. A lot of you may have seen his, uh, were official visit day where he had the Barney. I was about to say statue. The little Barney toy, whatever you want to call it, mascot. Cool. I'm gonna call it that. I'm gonna call it a mascot. Yeah. Obviously, you also have Braden Fogel. He was in Penn State's top, or he was in Penn State was in his top three. He committed to Georgia. And then the biggest one probably would be Emmanuel Iheanacho, who committed to Oregon. He's another DMV guy, Georgetown prep guy, 5-star. Again, as we talked about before, ridiculously big, lifts what Lau lifts, but not what I lift. He's a little stronger than me, which is paining me right now. Like I want to run to the gym and fix it at the moment, but I don't have the chance to do so. But I think he was probably one of the biggest losses, but I don't think at the same time that it's like, the end of the day. As we also talked about before, he is going to visit Penn State for the whiteout. Of course, Penn State, Oregon whiteout. He'll get a chance to see, the team he just committed to the team that lost out on him, at the team that he lost out, or that lost out on him's, home or whatever. I don't think that was a grammatical sentence, but it's okay. We'll leave it like that. So I think that'll be an interesting one. I mean, what do you think that Penn State has a chance to flip him, and what do you think should be kind of their best way to do so? Because I mean, it is, Oregon. You think about Oregon, you think of, Phil Knight, Dan Lanning. Like obviously, winning will have something to do with it. But I mean, what do you think is like the biggest tool Penn State should kind of use to kind of get him locked in?
Well, I mean, for one thing, I mean, NIL, it's like, I'm sure with, obviously, what you mentioned, like Phil Knight and like Nike and Oregon, it's like, I'm sure a five-star recruit is getting a pretty healthy paycheck to commit to Oregon. So they might have to shell out a good amount of NIL money, which is, they might not be able to do this year since, I mean, they brought back so many like key starters to instead of going to the draft. So I mean probably cost a good chunk of money. So it's like maybe they just might not be able to win a bidding war for him. But that's but other than like money wise, it's like the Oregon game. If they want to flip him, is I feel like the Oregon game is almost kind of a must win, and it's like because. I mean, I'm sure he'll be wowed by the Penn State whiteout environment. I mean, it's something that's pretty unanimously thought of that like the Penn State whiteout is one of the best environments in all of college football, if not the best. So, and if Penn State gets a win that weekend, I mean, I'm sure he would think of maybe potentially flipping, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, but I mean, this kind of always every year, like when a kind of some players commit to some schools, if like their team kind of starts not having as great of a year, maybe they start reconsidering. But um, Oregon probably still has a decent year, a good year, even if Penn State beats them. But I mean, we'll see. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean it's not the first time that Penn State or literally anyone has had a guy that they just lost out on come on and visit. I think it's safe to say that he could literally come just to really see the experience and see if Penn State is the pick. But it's also safe to say that he's coming because I mean he's going to the whiteout. Like I mean I would do the same thing. You get what, three official visits. Obviously it's not official, but you still, you get your visits, you get the chance to kind of go to these different schools, things like that. He came over the summer. That was his official visit, actually. But he is now getting that chance to do so in season. That'll also be a chance to do it and see his school. I mean, that a flight to Oregon is like a lot. Like, not that he'll probably have to worry about it and or pay for it, but like a flight to Oregon is a lot different than just taking the drive up to State College. And like if you want with again Phil Knight's money bag, which is deep, like I kind of just talked about this with someone like speaking about like Gavin McKenna with Penn State, like he's reported to have the highest NIL deal. Obviously, we can't confirm that, but like I was like Terry Pagula, his pockets are deep, but Phil Knight, that's a whole different conversation. I think that salary cap is going to make a difference, but I mean, you could also just like give it all to one player that is like, like the next coming, like, however you kind of want to say that. So, yeah, I mean, I think it'll kind of be interesting to see if they're able to flip him. I mean, again, this is not something that's like unusual. Penn State had Matt Zollers come in after he committed to Mizzou. He came to one of the games. Obviously, it didn't work. Matt Zollers is now on campus and at Mizzou, so there's no chance that they'll be getting him right now. At the very least, maybe he transfers in the back end or whatever. Cool, but as of right now, there will be no flipping with that. But speaking of flips, just yesterday, Penn State lost out on one of their 2026 guys, Roseby Labentis, a three-star offensive lineman. He's from New Jersey, flipped to Syracuse, which obviously is run by Fran Brown, who is known for his, New Jersey pipeline, and also just for being a recruiting savant. He had his little tweet on X, or I don't know if you call that a tweet, but he had his post on X and everything about the money and all that. So I mean, it's safe to say that he, got a little extra money to get over the hump and get him to Syracuse. But I mean, what do you think? What do you kind of think about this? Do you think that this is like a big deal? Do you think Penn State has something to worry about? I mean, losing out on Labentis and losing out on Foul Zone and the last like 2 or 3 weeks.
I mean, with Labintus, it's like, I mean, he's a talented, I mean, he's a top 1,000 recruit that takes talent, but with that said, it's like Penn State does have Kevin Brown. I mean, obviously just got Marlon Bright, Benjamin Izuka, and Jack Fuchs recently all committed. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's the end of the world to lose out on a 3-star like project, like developmental guy. It was like, it would be tough to really say that it's like it's there's a real like problem here, but because I mean there's also, I mean, you look at the current line, I mean there's a lot of depth. I mean with this last year's cycle, I mean they brought in Goodman, who is a very was highly rated in his cycle.
Yeah.
And next year they got Leighton Von Brandt, and they're also like they made the top 8 for in-state guy in Maxwell Hiller, who goes the same high school as this year's commit in Terry Wiggins. So it's I wouldn't be too concerned really. I mean, Roseby could very much turn into a very good player. That's still possible. But with Penn State, their current offensive linemen and like how their recruiting kind of just looks in like future cycles, I wouldn't say losing out on him is all that big of a deal. But I mean, we'll see how everything turns out.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you look overall, Penn State is doing just fine, not just, in the offensive line room, but in the recruiting room. If you want to look at offensive line, again, their number one recruit in the class overall is Kevin Brown. Kevin Brown by 247 Sports Composite is the number one player in the state, number four player, number four offensive tackle in the country, and number 45 player in the country. I think I strongly suggest and think that that his rating will be moved up a little bit. I think he's definitely going to get to 5-star status before he finishes his time at Harrisburg. I say that as one who saw him play in person his sophomore year, I believe, if not his freshman year, which makes it even more ridiculous. He played state high. I was there covering a game, and the first person I thought of honestly was Aiden Hutchinson. He was kind of bigger than everybody, clearly better than everybody at that time. He played both sides of the ball. So he was still probably about 6'4", 6'5" at that time, playing defensive end and tight end, and tackle and everything. So I don't think Phil Trotway ain't sweating this one. I think that's just what comes with verbal commits until you get guys completely locked down, which even nowadays isn't even a guarantee once you get them, like signed and everything. Like, that doesn't mean that they're 100% going to come to campus. There's obviously different things that go on throughout the years, and then obviously they took away, that official signing marker. That obviously makes a difference. So yeah, I don't think Penn State has much to worry about. If you look at overall, Penn State is by 247 Sports Composite and a couple others that I've seen. They have the number 15th overall class right now. I think earlier they were up to about maybe 7 or so. So to some that might be concerning, but I will say that does seem kind of expected, especially given the fact that they missed out on guys like Joey O'Brien and that they lost, Peyton Falzone, which was that he was definitely holding up their rankings a bit. I think I saw Penn State drop maybe a couple spots, 2 to 3 spots when that happened. So yeah, I mean, I think Penn State is still in a good position. I think if they're able to get either some of those guys become 5 stars, or if they're able to turn in a high profile guy, maybe some more top 200 guys, in the coming months or so, I think it'll look really good for Penn State. I think overall number 15 recruiting class isn't too bad too, especially given the wave of today now with NIL things like that. But I kind of wanted to use that to kind of transition into our next part of this. I want to talk a bit about NIL. Again, I kind of mentioned earlier, like Gavin McKenna reportedly has the highest contract or highest NIL deal in like college hockey history. Obviously, I don't know what those figures are. Again, I can't confirm so, but kind of going off of that, I mean, Penn State, and you can see this in just about every sport. They've been investing a lot. Pat Kraft has been investing a lot, but obviously that will really trickle down to football. Football obviously is where all the tradition comes from. Everything when you think of Penn State, obviously you're going to think of Beaver Stadium, whiteout, things like that. So I mean, I think especially if you look at this year, like bringing in Trevor Pena, who, there were rumors that he wanted like $2 or $4 million, whatever the number was, even though James Franklin denied it. Obviously you heard what Fran Brown said, which is what makes everything even more funny. Um, like you bringing in Devontae Ross, bringing in Kyron Hudson, Amari Campbell, and then obviously just bringing back your guys. I mean, I don't really know anything specifically, but I would guess that it wasn't cheap to bring back Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, and everyone else back for another year. Denied Dennis Sutton, even Zane Durant, even though I think, Zane Durant, as a football decision, it made sense for him to stay as well. Like I don't think it was cheap at all to bring those guys back. So I mean, how do you think this kind of plays out in the future? I mean, obviously this is the big, go all in year, but do you think with this state of NIL, with the house settlement, things like that, is Penn State able to kind of sustain this for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say in terms of like sustainability, it's like I mean we saw Michigan kind of do this a couple years ago with bringing back guys like JJ McCarthy, Blake Corum, Aiden Hutchinson, like all those guys, and that year they only had like the top 20 recruiting classes. Like it's definitely proven that like a bringing back guys instead of recruiting news guys can work and can succeed and win a national championship. But that's if they can if for Penn State, if maybe I think they're set up well to have a really good 2027 recruiting class. So I think this will work well with obviously they're going to kind of go in with the all-in mindset this season. And then like next season, I mean they I mentioned it's like they already have Leighton Von Brandt, Keeman Spell, and Khalil Taylor, who are all three really good recruits. So they could kind of go like spend a lot of NIL money on like returning players one season, then like the next season bring in like a lot of talent from like the high school or and like fill in like a couple holes through the portal. And it we'll see if it works, but it definitely like I can see it. I can see it like having success in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you talk about next year, I think the good thing for Penn State is that even without NIL, Penn State's kind of been known as that they're able to, kind of get these guys early on, get them early in their recruiting process. As you talk about with, 27 commits. I mean, you have Keemon Spell, he's been committed for about a year now. Like he is now a 5 star as far as I know. Number 18 player in the country, obviously number one player in the state, number one running back in the country. Like they're getting on guys early, and they're really able to rise through the rankings. I mean, you've seen the same thing with Drew Aller. You've seen the same things even with like Saquon Barkley. Like this has been something Penn State has been able to do for a while. They're able to really scout guys and not just scout them, but when they get there, they're able to truly develop them. So I think that NIL really plays to Penn State's advantage in the sense that they don't need it, but it is a really big addition. I think when you try to get into that room with the the ones you would consider the powerhouses, your Alabamas, your Ohio States, you can consider Michigan in that realm for recent success. I mean, you Oregon is trying to push into that realm. Like when you want to get into that room with the best of the best, it's going to cost some money, but when you're already able to develop guys, when you're already able to recruit, that just becomes a plus. I mean, you see it this year, being able to bring in and fill in the holes that they needed while bringing back all of the guys that they also wanted to bring back. Like Penn State had no, like, there wasn't really like a realistic scenario that's like, oh, Penn State really lost out on that guy. Like that hurts. Like you look at Tamir Robinson, maybe, but I mean, I also think that Tamir Robinson wasn't really highly regarded in the sense of national linebackers. I think as a Penn State linebacker, I think he was a really big person to have, but I don't think, he's like this guy that was going to be a game changer for Penn State. I think he was going to fill a hole that was needed. But I don't think, star would be safe to say going at least going into this season at least. So I think, Penn State's losses in general has been okay because they have been able to develop guys and they've been able to get guys that kind of fit the system. So I mean, I think Penn State's in a good position. I mean, we'll see what happens in the future years. We'll see, if anything else comes out of the House settlement that kind of changes things. I mean, obviously now you have the salary cap of around 20 million, and obviously most of that is going to football, so that'll kind of change the numbers, but that'll be, the same universally. And then there's also the chance that other schools don't want to spend $20 million. Like some schools could opt to not, spend all of that money. Like there's, different things that different loopholes and things like that we haven't discussed. But yeah, I mean, I think the consensus overall is that Penn State is set in NIL, not just football, but overall in athletics. As we just talked about, I mean, I think it'll be a very interesting year to see for Penn State sports, especially because I think there is so much buy-in this year to like winning a national championship. Like obviously, if you guys head to psucollegian.com, you can see that Chase Fisher and Lexi Linderman did a dueling column on whether Penn State football or Penn State men's hockey had a better shot at winning the national championship in 2025. Like, I think that's a very real scenario that people want to think about. Obviously, they could also like just both win it, and like the column becomes like
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense, but that hasn't happened yet. So make sure you head to psucollegian.com to see that. So
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, you mentioned like Penn State athletics as a whole is kind of set up well because I mean, not just like with the hockey and commits and all the commits they've gotten from the Canadian Hockey League. I mean, women's volleyball picked up Kennedy Martin earlier this summer from Florida, who's like probably the best transfer this offseason, and I'm sure she's going to give women's volleyball a very good chance to potentially like repeat as national championships. I mean, for men's and then for men's basketball, I mean, Yannick Konen-Niederhauser reportedly had a $1.5 million NIL deal to come back instead of going to the NBA draft. I mean, obviously he didn't end up taking that, but we've seen this offseason, like this summer, is like Penn State athletics, just football and athletics as a whole is I mean Pat Kraft said he was like all in on like all 31 sports, and we can see that with the NIL deals they're kind of throwing around.
yeah, I mean, it just makes me think like I really don't know why I wasn't more like I was into sports, but like why didn't I grind harder? Like I could have been sitting on like $1 million contract right now. I think this time is crazy. I mean I have eligibility. I do have 4 years of eligibility. I mean, if they give me a COVID year, I could have five. So if anybody needs a running back, anybody needs an offensive lineman, anybody needs a nose tackle, anybody needs anything that's not a wide receiver or a tight end, I got you. Just let me know. I think this is a really good time, and I think you really want to take advantage of having, a very quality talent on your team. Well, that's all we have for today. For more coverage, again, head to psucollegian.com or follow us on socials at Daily Collegian. We'll see you next time.